Good morning. This is Dishha Bagchi for ThePrint, and we're back with Lieutenant General H.S. Panag to discuss his column from this week. Army can't ask soldiers to do social work on leave. It's beyond the call of duty. Welcome back, General. Thank you for being here.
Yeah, it's always a pleasure to discuss my column with you, Disha.
So in this week's column, you look at the Army's new recommendation that soldiers going on leave must volunteer, do social work, and make an individual contribution to the Indian Army's nation-building effort. So to begin with, what do you think is behind the Army mandating soldiers to do social work, and why do you think this scheme is a violation of the soldiers' rights?
You see, simply put, this scheme recommends, it's given in the very opening paragraph, that every soldier proceeding on leave volunteers to choose any subject or domain as per his own interest or competency and the felt need of local community and engages citizens, thereby making an individual contribution to the Indian Army's nation-building effort. Now, my observation is that the biggest contribution the Indian Army and thereby its soldiers make towards nation building is protecting it from external and internal threats, safeguarding its sovereignty and territorial integrity. So they are already making the most, I would say, extreme contribution towards nation building. Now, on the face of it, the intent of the scheme is noble, that soldiers who are on leave can also do social work. But when you look at the details, it elaborates that this social work also includes propagation of the government's welfare scheme, the central government's welfare scheme, and the soldiers' footprint is pan-India. I mean, they are from all over the country, and 50% of the states are governed by political parties which are different from the one at the center. And at times they are at odds with each other, particularly with respect to the welfare schemes, because some states have their own welfare schemes. So, as I said, the intent seems to be noble, but a deeper look makes the whole scheme very controversial, and it's a kind of that the public's love, admiration, adulation of the army is being exploited by the political government in power. Political parties are always very keen to identify with the soldier, because soldier enjoys phenomenal reputation as far as the public is concerned. In fact, any survey in India always rates Indian Army as the #1 organization and Indian soldier as the most loved, individual in the nation. One more aspect is that leave is the sine qua non of welfare. Because the soldiers undergo a lot of privations, long separations from their families, and they have to fulfill family obligations. While it is said that a soldier is never off duty, but the implication of that is that the soldier, even while on leave, is in a state of readiness to be recalled to go to war or for operational requirements. Now to impinge on his leave time, which is as per his terms and conditions of service, he's entitled to 60 days leave and 30 days of casual leave. It's his private time. This kind of indirect tasking will impinge on his private time, and thereby violate his terms and conditions of service. I think the Economic Times carried a very satirical shot. It was very interesting, and the title was "When at Ease, Soldier, Why at Attention?" You are aware that in drill there are two positions. When you are at attention, you are upright and your arms are pulled aside and your chest is out. And at ease, your arms are put at the back. So the Economic Times said, when at ease, soldier, why at attention? And then also in your leave period.
You call the scheme controversial. So, what do you think are some of the problems with this scheme, and why do you say that it won't withstand the scrutiny of the courts?
Yeah, the problems are that, you see, while when you have look at it the first time, it appears that the scheme is voluntary. But note the wordings of the letter. Every soldier, it is recommended that every soldier proceeding on leave volunteers. That means it is being made obligatory. And when the word recommended, suggested is used in the army by higher headquarters, it implies that these are orders for execution. There are no ifs and buts about it. That is one part. So firstly, it is not a voluntary scheme. And as I mentioned for the previous question, it's against the terms and conditions of service, which entitles a soldier to 60 days of annual leave and 30 days of casual. The second major flaw is that it is based on the assumption of time. It has been assumed, while the letter highlights the fact that the primary purpose of leave is for the soldier to spend quality time with his family. But at the same time, it concludes on its own. I do not know if a survey has been carried out, but if it had been carried out, then this conclusion could not have been reached, that there's still ample time for the soldier to do social work. Now, this I feel is an assumption, and it's a wrong assumption, because I do not think soldiers have time from their domestic commitments, particularly when you take into consideration the fact that the soldiers endure long separation. They alternate field and peace tenures, where for almost a period of 2 to 3 years he cannot keep his family with him, and even when he is in a peace station, he has to keep his family with him. The accommodation is authorized only for 50% of the soldiers. A large number of soldiers do not take up family accommodation because at home the wife has to look after the aged parents or manage the property. So I would say only about 25 to 30% soldiers in peace stations keep their married soldiers keep their families with them. And even the single soldiers, they have so many other they have other family commitments when they go leave. So the leave is to compensate him for that, and there are a host of things that the person has to do. What is normal for all of us who live in who daily come home in the evening has to be compressed. What you do in the whole year has to be compressed in a period of 2 to 3 months. Children's education has to be looked after. Juvenile children going astray have to be counseled by the father. His presence is required. He needs to take them for outings. He needs to take them to the hospital, to the military hospital, which at times is maybe a full day's journey away from his own home. So aged parents have to be looked after. The family property has to be looked after. At times, soldiers have to work at home because they are owning land, or they have got some other small business or anything. They have to work to assist the families, because most of the soldiers come from a background where it's difficult to make both ends meet. So it is the soldier has got no time for such activities, and this direction is based on a wrong assumption. The soldiers standing in public, while social media is agog with adulation and admiration of the soldier, but the soldiers standing in public life has taken a beating. Today, the rural areas are highly criticized. Nobody is really interested in a soldier. It's only when it is only for his funeral or when he gets a decoration that there is a bit of activity in the village. Otherwise, nobody is interested in him anymore. Similarly, with the local administration, he has no standing left. There are laid down norms that the deputy commissioners, the senior superintendent of police, they are supposed to give priority to soldiers' cases, and they should meet the soldiers. I don't think it's possible these days. I'm a retired general, and it is most of the government officials in my district headquarters don't even bother to wish me after I have wished them, and they have no idea as to what was my rank or status. That apart, even for my age, so soldiers have really no standing. To expect them to go about doing social work is really not right. Since now this, so consequently this kind of a direction, more so when it doesn't seem to be voluntary, will become an unlawful command. It's not a lawful command. So somebody may move the court that my time is being impinged upon. My terms of service say I must get leave. Leave is for my own purpose. It's my own time. And now I'm being asked to this thing, and it's being enforced upon me. Because whatever you see in the details of the letter in terms of the data being given to him, scripts being given to him, briefing, and the fact that he has to bring back videos and photographs of what work he has done. So it's a compulsive work. So if taken to courts, it will not withstand the scrutiny of the courts.
Right. You mentioned that the standing of the soldier in society when he kind of rejoins society during his leave has been affected. You gave your own example. Why do you think there's been this shift?
You see, what has happened is that when there are external wars, suddenly everybody feels that the importance and the need of soldiers and their armies. And when there's long duration of peace, it's everybody forgets the soldier. I mean, this has been going on from times immemorial. And then in earlier times, a soldier's job was, relatively compared to the rest of the society, was a very well-paid job. And so he, apart from other things, he had a financial standing. And rest of the people in the village were not that well educated. They were not very aware. At times, they had not even been out of the village. I mean, I remember that when I was young, people in my village had never been out of the village. They never been to the next big city. I mean, to the small town nearby. So the soldier, when he came back from distant lands after fighting Second World War, First World War, told stories. So everybody held him in awe. But now, as with the spread of education, with the spread of awareness, internet, and everything, so he is no longer a unique person, and his emoluments and pay are no longer the envy of the society. I mean, a small-time businessman in the village itself now makes more money than the soldier, where earlier probably soldier made more money than anybody else. So then the state administration, the earlier crop of IAS officers, police officers, they had a lot of interaction with the army. They still have, but they don't pay much attention to it. They're far too busy. And so barring the attendance of the funerals, I don't think the district administration and the police officials, they even bother to think or talk about soldiers, and that's and attending funerals is an obligation, and that's why I said that they're no longer interested in you. Even the courts are supposed to give priority to any litigation in which a soldier is involved. No court gives any litigation. You just have to pick up the newspapers. I mean, there are cases of soldiers, families, and others suffering all over the country. Earlier, one recommendation from a commanding officer about a soldier's case, and the DC would reply, take action. Now, no such action is taken. It's just left at that. He's just treated as one more member of the society.
Right. So you also mentioned that a soldier's participation in social initiatives could put them in conflict with political parties within states, and you also look at some of the dangers of that. So could you elaborate a little more on what could be some of the dangers of soldiers being in conflict with such political parties?
You see, what probably the army doesn't understand, or it has failed to appreciate, is that the rural society today is highly politicized. First of all, there are host of elected bodies. There are the panchayats, then there are the block committees, then there are the zilla parishads, and all the elections to all these take place on party lines. Let alone the grassroots democratic institutions, even for all other these things like gurdwaras, temples, their management, anything is done on political lines. A village, a kasbah, small town is divided on political lines. Then within that, there are again, religious tensions. If there are different communities are there, and particularly these days, between the Hindu community and the Muslim community, there is of course there's the history behind it, but now it is much more pronounced, and the so-called yatras for various on religious occasions are again highly politicized. Politicians are into it in a big way. All social social work is again done by political parties, and all parties have their social organizations. Take the example, the RSS, which is the mother organization of the Bharatiya Janata Party. It has got 7-8 affiliates, and they are all over the place. Similarly, other parties have got similar organizations which are functioning at the grassroots. So the entire social space has been overtaken by them in everything. They have their hand in everything, from sports to religious processions to organizing Pahalwani tournaments, you name it. The schools. I mean, all schools. There is the say of the political workers of the local government of the government in power. Even they dominate the place. The hospital. The hospitals are not independent bodies. The police. The police is, instead of first going directly to the police, everybody first rushes to the MLA or MLA's underlings to somehow get their work done with the police. But that's the reputation of the police. So the social landscape is dominated by political parties and their workers. So once a soldier now comes and starts doing social work, or he will impinge on their domains. He'll impinge on their domains, and some may even try to, at the moment they see that, take for example, the central welfare scheme, which the soldier has been asked to propagate. Now, obviously, the political workers of the BJP and the mother organization, the RSS, and for that matter, any other party, they will all be very happy that he is doing our job, and they will try to rope him in. They will make much of him. So he is likely to get sucked into the local politics. That is one part. In the second way, it can his own getting involved with local politics is that not all states are ruled by the same government which rules at the center. I think 14 or 15 of our states are ruled by opposition parties. And they're at odds with the central government, particularly with respect to the social welfare schemes. Now, they have their own social welfare schemes. So if this now the soldier arrives and he's been tasked to specifically propagate the central welfare schemes. No, he starts propagating them, and there's a sort of a similar scheme run by the state government. Both will come into conflict with each other. The state government will feel that he is acting as an agent of the central government, and this will it encroaches upon the federal structure of the country. So it will put him at odds with the local government. So this and then it may lead to his harassment by the political workers, even by the highly politicized police. So these are the two ways which I feel that he will get sucked into the local politics.
Right. And could you tell us a little bit about what could be the dangers of that, of soldiers becoming political tools of the ruling party?
See, an army takes an oath of allegiance to the constitution. It's everybody. It doesn't take an oath of allegiance to the political government. It's to the constitution. Political governments come and go. And army cannot be seen acting in a partisan manner at the behest of the political government to push forward a political agenda.
Right.
It's not that it has not happened before. All political parties tried. We had this with us in the late 50s and the early 60s. We had generals who were close to the, politicians of the political party in power. They were catapulted to higher ranks. Certain government schemes were adopted by the army. For example, when there was shortage of money, and so army could not finance the building of accommodation for its soldiers. So the certain generals suggested that let the soldiers will provide the labor, and the material money will be provided by the government, so saving a large, 50% of the cost of constructing a building. And entire Kant areas were built like that. This famous project Amar in Ambala was completed like that. And this was taken to the northeast while the units were preparing and deployed for operations against the Chinese before that. So similar projects were started there. A little later than this was the Grow More Food campaign, when there was a shortage of food. All vacant spaces and cantonments were wheat was grown, rice was grown. Of course, this was justifiable to an extent as the nation didn't have food. So to that extent, the army could have assisted. Now, but this happened, of course, after the 62 war. But what happened because of the earlier involvement of the army in these kind of tasks and this politicization is that one of the reasons for our debacle in 1962 was this, and the commander of 4 Corps that collapsed when the Chinese attacked in Arunachal Pradesh, then known as Nepa, was none other than General B.M. Kaul, who was the master craftsman as far as this particular projects of involving soldiers in activities other than soldiering is concerned. So we have had experience of this before. So now, if the soldiers who owe their allegiance to the constitution, and today one government asked them to propagate these 10, 12 schemes. There are 14 schemes, in fact, which have been listed there. And tomorrow another government comes, it will scrap these schemes. It will say, you propagate our schemes. This will be seen by the public, by everybody, that it is that the army is acting as a tool of the political government. And what will be the soldiers or the army's sort of reputation left if the government changes in 2024? and comes out with totally diametrically different policies, then he will change overnight. The soldiers' social work will go waste all this time.
Right.
So these are the other dangers, and in my view, the military has not advised, the military hierarchy has not advised the government properly, and one of the reasons for this is that the government's deep selection and merit-driven promotions, ignoring the principles of seniority, where people from junior officers have been catapulted to the highest of ranks. I mean, the present chief of defense staff was only an army commander, junior to the chief of army staff. I mean, as in terms of rank, and I'm not talking about in terms of the present incumbents. And he had retired from service. Rules were changed. He has been recalled and made the chief of defense staff of the Indian Army. Similarly, when General Rawat was made the chief, he had superseded two officers to become the chief of army staff based upon his government cited his experience and called deep selection, merit driven. No harm in that, provided the whole procedure is transparent. It's the government's prerogative. But now every general, every admiral, every air marshal feels that he also has got a chance to take a shot at the highest rank. So this compromises their ability to give firm and clear advice to the government. Then, last but not the least, you involve the army too much. You just have to read the history of Pakistan in the 50s. Now, what happened in the beginning was that the president and the prime minister, they started taking help of the army to sort out their own political problems, and then finally a time came in 1958 when Field Marshal Ayub Khan simply ousted them and seized power. So this is, of course, the ultimate fallout of politicization of the army. But otherwise, all political parties are happy to be identified with the soldier, to be aligned with the soldier, because, as I said, at least on social media, notwithstanding what the actual standing of the soldier in civil life, like I told you, is not what the social media makes them. In terms of social media, it is it's good. This thing the Indian Army stands with the X party, Y party, Z party today, and tomorrow some other party. It makes good picture, and everybody likes it. And so this is what all political parties do. But the army must not be seen to be doing it.
Right.
In fact, my last words are: the sooner we scrap this scheme, the better it would be.
Right. Thank you, General. I think you brought up some very interesting insights. Firstly, on what this scheme is about, the lives and experiences of soldiers in general, which not a lot of people are aware about, as well as some of the dangers of implementing this scheme and long-term impacts it could have. So for viewers interested in reading the full article by General Panag, the link to it is in the description below. Thank you, and we will see you next week.